The power drill and all melee weapons have been severely nerfed against the Citadelle Daymore boss fight, so what does everyone use now? This video aims to answer that by showing you a ton of really strong weapons against the boss fight, including the meta gunsmith loadouts, so you and your friends can absolutely destroy this boss fight, no drills required. If you appreciate a video like this, let me and YouTube know by clicking the thumbs up button and subscribing, as I got you, because we're now gonna have to take the boss down the old-fashioned way by shooting it with bullet weapons. And surprisingly, one of the standout best weapons to use against this thing is the ray gun, where when fully max papped, the ray gun is able to do 548 damage per shot to any of the armor pieces. Once an armor piece is broken, you can do up to 6,515 damage per shot. Now, I'm really surprised by how good this is in the boss fight because it has really good armor penetration, which is the ideal thing that you want to have in the boss fight. And as you can see, the round number doesn't lie. I took this into round 102 just to show you how viable this thing is as a boss fight weapon. Now, across all of the weapons I'm going to showcase in this video, it is crucial that you have the GS45 Akimbos fully papped and max rarity as your secondary weapon with the light mend ammo mod attached, because it's going to make your life so much easier for taking out the zombie hordes whilst you're fighting the boss and in between the phases. On top of that, especially if you're doing this solo, the Ether Shroud field upgrade with the extension augment is going to be incredible for just allowing you to put as much damage into the boss as possible with any of the recommended weapons in this video. Ultimately, between each phase, when the boss is temporarily frozen and you've got to take down zombies, that is when you want to fill up your field upgrade all the way, so that once the Guardian is back, you'll have that thing fully charged. You can go ahead and use it to shoot the boss's weak points to break more armor. Now, compared to the other weapons in the game, this is one of the highest damage weapons to use against it, period. So don't sleep on the ray gun whatsoever. And another huge benefit is that if you do go down in this boss fight with a self-revive, because you have the ray gun equipped, you have 100 bullets to use on the ray gun whilst in the down state. So especially if this happens in the final phase and you go down, all you need to do is just continue to shoot at the boss's chest and you'll be able to take down the boss super easy, where it sort of feels a bit like using an Ether Shroud. Ideally, you don't want to go down in a boss fight, but if that does happen, you will easily be able to make it through to the next phase before you need to use the self-revive in order to get back in time. And if that does happen, having an extra perkaholic gobblegum on you for this would be a great way to recover and guarantee that completion. But yeah, completed this on round 102 and it wasn't too difficult. The zombies were harder than the boss, so there you go. That shows how good the ray gun is, where it can do nearly 10,000 damage to the chest in that final phase. The next weapon in this video is going to be the XMG LMG, where I'll show you the build at the end. But this build specifically gives you really good mobility to move around the map fast. You do 75 damage a bullet to the armor, and when it's critical, you're going to do 1250 per shot. And with a 400 round magazine, you're just going to have a ton of ammo to just completely put into the boss without having to worry. And using incantations as well with stamina will allow you to have really fast movement speed, where you don't need to ADS to then continue spraying at the boss's critical spots. But due to that crazy fire rate and the damage, it's just a really good gun for this fight. The only thing is, because it's an LMG with a massive magazine, the reloads are a little bit slow, and the build that I'm going to show you, we're not actually putting a fast mag on because we want to have even more ammo. We've gone for a really good compromise here, where you're getting more ammo and the reload still isn't too slow. But in the final phase, we are doing about 1900 damage per bullet to the middle, and you can see there with Ether Shroud, the boss's health bar is just going down really quickly. And once the Ether Shroud runs out, we can still just absolutely just unload bullets into him, and this was one of the quickest boss completions that I had, which wasn't the ray gun. In terms of the damage and the mobility and the ammo, I thought this was an incredible choice. So jumping into the loadout, you want to have the Prismatic Reflex, the Suppressor Muzzle, Gain Twist Barrel, Precision Foregrip, Extended Mag 1, which is an interesting one because if we go and look, there's actually an Extended Mag 2 that gives you even more bullets, but I think for the sake of the increased reload time you get with Extended Mag 1, it'd be even longer for Extended Mag 2, and 400 bullets is more than enough. Quick Draw Grip, Light Stock, and Steady Aim Laser all give you amazing mobility, handling, and just a really good LMG. One of the most standout weapons that I've found against the boss in terms of just pure damage is the Siren 9mm, where it has some of the highest damage numbers against armor and crits that I have seen across any weapon in the game, being able to do 115 bullets bullets per armor and was extremely quick to break armor, and when it did, the critical shots were 2,185 a bullet. Finding how mobile you are with this thing, because it's just such a light weapon to hold, are really able to just mince through the boss armor and crits very, very quickly. It's a very strange one because this is one of the best weapons to use in everything in the game right now. Any boss fight, including Citadelle, this is definitely the one you want to run. And because this is a special weapon, there isn't actually a ton of attachments that you need to add on it to make it meta. Going into the loadout, I have the iron sight optic, the suppressor muzzle, the long barrel, vertical foregrip, and then extended mag 1. If you have this unlocked, definitely give this a try next time you try this fight. Another LMG I highly recommend is the GPMG7, and that's for a good few reasons. The first is that it is a wall bite in the Undercroft, meaning that you have instant access to this LMG off the wall if you want to use it later in the game and don't want to spawn in with it. You also don't have to get it out the box. And with the loadout I'm going to show you, it has some very interesting attachments that really help the mobility and avoid you having to actually ADS, meaning that you still have very, very quick movement whilst also being really accurate. Now for armor damage, it does 59, which isn't quite as much as the XMG, but still has the benefits of that incredibly big ammo size. It's also really mobile, and the crits on the main parts of the armor is just under 1,000 per bullet. And as you can see, it is a very solid LMG to use with really good damage. And again, that comes down to the fact that you want a weapon that is very hard hitting to break the armor and has a ton of ammo. And this thing really has it. It's just with this LMG and the XMG, you really want to have PhD slider as the augment on PhD and stamina up so that you can slide around and dodge the attacks while still being able to use the LMG really, really nice and easily. So diving into the loadout, I ran the muzzle compensator, the CHF barrel, crossbar under barrel, which is what allows you to not have that ADS, and instead you're still in this weird sort of tack stance, which looks really, really good, makes it even more mobile. You also have the extended mag 4 for that increased ammo, commando grip, balanced stock, steady aim laser, and then recoil springs for the fire mods. But you could also play around with also changing this to FMJ to see if this actually helps with the penetration power and breaks the armor a little bit easier. Now, a gun that's been meta ever since the game first released, the ASG shotgun, is also a very viable weapon to use against this boss, as it does break the armor pretty quickly, doing 47 damage a time, and then for criticals it does 787 during those first phases. But with one ether shroud, I was able to take down both of those and get to the completion of phase 1 in one field upgrade, which was really, really cool. Once you get armor broken on this, it is incredibly fun and easy to use because it's just like how you've used it before in the Terminus boss fight. You're just spraying away, and with the natural effects of this gun, Pack-a-Punch, you're going to be doing a lot of damage to those critical spots. And when it comes to the final phase in his chest, you can see that this thing is just amazing. I was tempted to put on free fire just to see, and yeah, you can see that it just absolutely melts. Plus, you are so incredibly mobile, and this is a really good weapon to use against the zombies as well. The only thing is, I don't think this weapon can be bought off the wall. You're gonna have to get it out of the box or bring it in your loadout. Jumping into the loadout, you want to run the full choke muzzle, the range of foregrip, the extended mag 2 magazine, light stock, steady aim laser, and rapid fire, so you can shoot this at the boss as quickly as possible. Another weapon to use that has incredible damage in this boss fight is the Sorg 9mm SMGs in akimbo, where these are able to do 60 damage per bullet to the armor, and then in a crit during phase 1 you could do 997 damage. And with both of these firing at once, you're getting about 120 bullets per reload, doing absolutely ridiculous damage. And because of how close quarters these SMGs are, it's also pretty good for taking out the zombies during this fight as well. The only downside to how good this is the fact that the ammo just runs out so quick. You're going to be reloading very often in this fight, and you're going to go through ammo extremely quickly. If you are running Vulture Raid, you will get some ammo drops, which will definitely help out with this. It might be worth waiting a few rounds if you are going to take this in, just so you have the points backed up to get ammo. In the final phase, you can see that on his chest, I'm doing like 1478 damage, and it is just insane how fast and how much ammo you're able to just unload into the boss. It's a really fun weapon to use, and because of the arena size, you don't really ever see a range drop off as well. So jumping into the loadout, I ran the muzzle suppressor, long barrel, extended mag 2 magazine, CQB grip, the akimbo sword stock, of course, and then the rapid fire mods to make these shoot as quickly as possible and to break armor as quickly as possible. Moving on to ARs, I have two assault rifles I want to recommend. The first being what I think is one of the best, and is the Krig C assault rifle. This is a pure damage test. I was getting 86 bullets per armor break, and when the armor was exposed, we were doing 1425 per critical. And from my limited testing, this seems to be the highest damage AR that you can choose to use for this fight. You've got really good mobility, you've got really good damage, and you've got decent ammo capacity as well, 141 bullets. In his final phase, every bullet was doing 2,112 critical damage, which, as you can see, isn't quite enough damage to take out the boss during one Ether Shroud, but it's definitely very, very decent damage. And it's really good against the zombies inside the boss fight, as well as a good gun to use right from the offset in your loadout. So jumping into the loadout, you want to run the suppressor muzzle, the CHF barrel, Ranger foregrip, extended mag 2, commando grip, balanced stock, steady aim laser, and rapid fire. And the second AR I recommend you take into the boss is the AS Vow. This is a really good choice because it's a wall buy right outside the front of the castle, and with the setup we're going to show you in a moment, it is a very hard hitting assault rifle, being able to do 72 bullets to each armor piece, and when fully exposed can do 1,188 bullets per critical, so a little less than the Krig. It's a very unique AR with some really cool characteristics that I really like, and just because it's on the wall as well makes it extremely convenient to buy if you do want to choose to use this in the boss. The final phase, those critical damage on his chest were doing 1,760, which again isn't as much as the Krig, but you have the benefits of it being a wall buy. So diving into the loadout, I ran the Kepler Microflex, suppressed long barrel, Ranger foregrip, extended mag 3, ergonomic grip, combat stock, steady aim laser, and recoil springs, but you could choose to swap this out full rapid fire if you want even faster fire rate against the boss to break those armor pieces. Now, there are a few weapons that I want to talk about in this video which are good, but they aren't good inherently used on their own. And there's some obvious ones that you think would be a must use, and they aren't quite so good. So I mentioned right at the start of the video about the GS45 pistols akimbo being like an essential secondary, and I still think that highly, but using them purely as a weapon to take down the boss solely alone, I don't recommend, and I'm going to show you why. And the thing is that they do pretty good damage to break armor pieces, to being honest. They do 169 damage per armor piece, and when armor's broken, does an incredible 8,674. The only problem with this is that the ammo is just not enough for you to be able to do this, where you're going to have to constantly be buying ammo from an ammo box, and you're going to be taking these in tier 3, Pack-a-Punch, and legendary rarity, and that's going to cost you 5,000 points a time. Unless you have a ton of points to spare, it's going to be a much longer fight using just these alone. And because they're explosive, they are a little tricky to aim at certain parts of the body, especially when it comes to the shoulders and the hands. With a weapon like this, you might not be able to be super accurate and be able to hit those every time. So it's one of those where if you've broken armor pieces and it's a very easy hit, definitely swap to them and use them, but solely on their own, don't use them only, because you will run out of ammo and points before you're able to beat this boss fight using just these alone. Another really obvious choice on paper that isn't actually that good is the Sigma launcher. Now, if you combine this with free fire, then of course this thing is going to be godly. However, because you need to aim at specific parts of the body and you want to be damaging specifically those to begin with, that's out the window with the Sigma, because you're just going to be shooting them to high heaven and you can't properly aim at a certain body part. But you can see that just normally you do 10,000 damage per rocket, which is absolutely insane, and you will get the boss down to that first phase extremely quickly. The only problem is, especially for solo, you only have one free fire, and you cannot take the boss out fully with just that one free fire alone. So you get through one of the phases really quickly, but you won't get through all three. And when you don't have free fire, it's really, really difficult to use this, because you only have 3 shots before you need to reload. You're going to run out of ammo really quickly. You're going to have to be buying ammo constantly. So this might be viable if it's a 4-player game where you all have free fire to be able to use it throughout all of the phases individually, but in solo, it's just definitely not viable. And another really high damage weapon that you would expect to be good in the boss fight, the LR762 sniper rifle, is just very, very slow to fire. So it does really good armor damage at 313 a shot, which is really good, but it is just extremely slow at breaking armor off the boss. So sadly, wouldn't recommend it. As time goes on, I'm sure there will be even more weapons that will rise to the fold to be good against this boss, but fundamentally, most assault rifles and LMGs will be just fine and do fairly similar damage, with some being slightly stronger than others, which we featured in this video. But let me know how you get on with this. If you find any other weapons that are meta, be sure to let me know inside the comment section so the community can know. If you found this video useful, then please let me know by dropping that thumbs up. And why don't you check out this video on your screen right now, diving into Vulture Raid and all of its best augments. But if you're struggling with this Easter egg solo and can't even make it to the boss and want some help, including how to skip entire Easter egg steps, then why not check this video that's on the right appearing right now.